The call came at 3:17 in the morning, and I knew who it was before I answered. There's something about the particular way your phone sounds when it's ringing with bad news at an hour when no good news exists. My hand hesitated over the receiver for 3 rings, 4, 5. Part of me wanted to let it go to voicemail to pretend I'd slept through it, to avoid whatever was coming. But I answered, because somewhere deep in my bones I knew this call had been coming for 15 years. Jake, is that you? The voice was familiar but wrong somehow. Strained, desperate. Kevin Torres, my battle buddy from Iraq, who I hadn't spoken to in over a decade despite living only 40 miles apart. Kevin, yeah, it's me. What's wrong? I need you to remember. I need you to tell me what really happened that night in Fallujah. November 19th, 2004. The house with the red door. Please, Jake. Please tell me you remember. My blood ran cold. The house with the red door. Words I hadn't let myself think about in 15 years suddenly crashing through every defense I'd built. Kevin, it's 3 in the morning. Are you okay? Are you drunk? I'm sober. For the first time in probably 10 years, I'm completely sober. And that's the problem, Jake, because now I can't stop seeing it. Can't stop trying to piece together what happened. But there are holes in my memory. Big holes. And you're the only other person who was there who's still alive. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding. My wife stirred next to me but didn't wake. I grabbed my robe and moved into my home office, closing the door softly behind me. Kevin, we shouldn't talk about this over the phone. Then come over, please. I'm losing my mind here. I need to know what happened. I need you to fill in the blanks before I completely fall apart. Something in his voice, the edge of hysteria barely contained, told me this wasn't a request I could refuse. Give me an hour. Don't do anything stupid. Just wait for me. I dressed quickly, left a note for my wife saying a friend needed help, and drove through the pre-dawn darkness to Kevin's apartment across town. The streets were empty, just me and my thoughts and the memories I'd spent 15 years trying to keep buried. The house with the red door. November 19th, 2004. Fallujah, Iraq, during the second battle for the city. We'd been part of a Marine unit clearing buildings block by block, room by room, in some of the most intense urban combat American forces had seen since Vietnam. I'd been 22 years old. Kevin had been 21. We'd been in Iraq for 7 months, but nothing had prepared us for Fallujah. Nothing could have. Kevin's apartment was in a rundown complex on the east side of town. 3rd floor, end unit. I knocked quietly, and he opened the door immediately, as if he'd been standing there waiting. He looked terrible, gaunt, unshaven, eyes red-rimmed and wild. The apartment behind him was a disaster. Empty bottles everywhere, papers scattered across every surface, the blue light of a computer screen illuminating the chaos. "Thank God you came," he said, practically pulling me inside. "I wasn't sure you would. Wasn't sure you'd even remember me." "Of course I remember you, Kevin. We served together for 18 months. You saved my life twice, and you saved mine 3 times. I kept count." He laughed, but it sounded broken. "But that's not what I need to talk about. I need to talk about the thing we don't talk about. The thing we've been not talking about for 15 years. He led me to his living room, where I could see he'd created some kind of shrine or investigation board. Photos pinned to the wall, maps of Fallujah, news clippings, official reports, all centered around a single date, November 19th, 2004. Jesus, Kevin, what is all this? This is me trying to figure out what the hell happened that night. Because my memory has holes in it, Jake. Big dark holes that don't make sense. And the more sober I get, the more those holes bother me. He pointed to a map of Fallujah with a section circled in red. We were clearing houses in this sector. 3rd Platoon, Charlie Company. You, me, Corporal Jenkins, Lance Corporal Rodriguez, Private First Class Chen, and Sergeant Martinez. 6 of us moving building to building. That part I remember clearly. "I remember that too," I said carefully. "We'd cleared maybe a dozen houses that day. Standard procedure. Bang on the door, give the occupants 30 seconds to come out peacefully, then breach and clear if they don't comply." Most houses were empty. The civilians had fled weeks earlier, but occasionally we'd find insurgents hiding, waiting to ambush us. Kevin was pacing now, his energy frantic. Then we came to a house with a red door. I remember that detail specifically because Chen made a joke about it. Said it looked like a target. All that red paint. We could hear people inside. Voices. Movement. Sergeant Martinez called out in Arabic. Gave them the warning, but nobody came out. I felt my chest tightening. This was the part where things got complicated. The part I'd spent 15 years trying not to think about. Martinez gave the order to breach, Kevin continued. Chen hit the door with the battering ram. We went in fast, me on point, you right behind me, the others following, and that's where my memory starts to get weird. He turned to me, his eyes desperate. I remember going through the door. I remember the interior was dark, only a little light coming through high windows. I remember the smell, something cooking maybe, something burning, and then, nothing. Just a blank space where the next 10 or 15 minutes should be. And when my memory picks up again, I'm outside the house, sitting on the curb and you're next to me, and there's blood on both of us, and the house is on fire. My mouth went dry. What do you remember from inside the house, Jake? What happened in those missing minutes? I stood there looking at Kevin's desperate face, at his crazy investigation wall, at the evidence of a man slowly unraveling as buried memories clawed their way to the surface. And I had to decide whether to tell him the truth or protect him from it. Kevin, maybe there's a reason you don't remember. Maybe your mind is protecting you from something traumatic. No, he grabbed my shoulders. Don't do that. Don't treat me like I'm fragile. I need to know. The not knowing is killing me. I wake up screaming about that house. I see the red door in my nightmares. I hear sounds I can't identify. I need you to tell me what happened so I can process it and move on. But what happened in the house with the red door wasn't something you processed and moved on from. It was something that haunted you until you died. Sit down, I said finally. If I'm going to tell you this, you need to sit down. Kevin sat on his couch and I took the chair across from him. For a moment I just looked at this man who'd been my brother in combat, who I'd trusted with my life, who I hadn't seen in over a decade, because seeing him meant remembering things I couldn't afford to remember. We went through the door, I began, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. You were on point like you said. I was right behind you. The interior was dark and it took our eyes a second to adjust. There was a hallway leading to the back of the house, stairs going up on the right, and a doorway to our left that opened into what looked like a main living area. Kevin was leaning forward, hanging on every word. We could hear people in the living area. Martinez signaled for you and me to clear it while the others secured the rest of the first floor. We moved to the doorway, weapons up, ready for contact. I paused, the memories flooding back in vivid detail despite 15 years of trying to suppress them. There were 7 people in that room, Kevin. 2 men, 3 women, and 2 children. They were huddled in the corner, terrified, hands up, clearly civilians trying to surrender. Kevin's face went pale. Civilians, but I thought, the intelligence said. The intelligence was wrong, or maybe there had been insurgents there earlier and they'd left. I don't know. But what we found was a family. Just a family who'd stayed in their home despite the fighting, who'd been too scared or too stubborn to evacuate. Then why don't I remember that? Why is there a blank in my memory? This was the hard part. The part that would destroy him if I said it wrong. Because of what happened next, Kevin. Because of what we did. He stood up abruptly. What do you mean what we did? We found civilians. We secured them. We called it in, right? That's protocol. That's what we were trained to do. That's what we should have done. That's what we would have done if Sergeant Martinez hadn't been who he was. Kevin's eyes widened. Martinez. What did Martinez do? He came into the room about 10 seconds after we'd entered, saw the civilians, and his first words were, "They're all military age, probably insurgent family. We clear them. Clear them." What does that? Kevin stopped, understanding dawning on his face with horrifying clarity. No, we wouldn't have. We couldn't have. You argued with him. I remember that part clearly because I'd never seen you stand up to Martinez before. You said they were obviously civilians, that we needed to call it in, get an interpreter, process them properly. And Martinez got right in your face and said that in Fallujah, everyone was the enemy until proven otherwise, and these people were in a known insurgent sector refusing to evacuate, which made them combatants. Kevin was shaking his head, backing away from me like I was a physical threat. Chen and Rodriguez were in the doorway by then. They saw the civilians too. Chen said something about kids, about how we couldn't hurt kids. And Martinez turned on him, threatened to write him up for refusing orders in combat. This can't be real. This can't have happened. You asked Martinez what orders. He hadn't given any orders yet. And that's when he said it clearly, directly. He said, "Clear the room. Eliminate the threat." That's an order. The horror on Kevin's face was absolute. This was why he'd blocked it out. Why his mind had created a protective blank where these memories should have been. I refused. I continued. Said I wouldn't shoot civilians. Orders or no orders. Martinez pulled his sidearm and aimed it at me. Said he'd shoot me for insubordination and claim I'd been killed by insurgent fire. Then he'd clear the room himself. What did I do? Kevin whispered. In that moment, what did I do? This was the question that had haunted me for 15 years. The question I'd never been able to answer in a way that absolved either of us. You lowered your weapon. You told Martinez you wouldn't shoot civilians either. Chen and Rodriguez backed us up, said they wouldn't do it either. 4 of us against Martinez and Jenkins, who'd do whatever Martinez ordered. So what happened? If we all refused, how did... That's when the older man in the corner moved, just shifted position, maybe trying to protect his family, but Martinez took it as aggression. He fired twice, hit the man in the chest. The man went down, and his wife started screaming, and then everything went to hell. Kevin was crying now, tears streaming down his face, as the memory apparently started coming back. The wife lunged at Martinez, unarmed, just a mother trying to protect her family. Jenkins shot her, 3 rounds, center mass. She dropped next to her husband. The other woman grabbed the children and tried to run for the back of the room, and that's when Martinez started shooting everyone. No, 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 no. He was screaming about how they were all insurgents, how they'd been harboring fighters, how they'd made their choice by staying, and he just kept firing. The second woman went down. The children, my voice broke. The children were maybe 8 and 10 years old. They were screaming, running, trapped in a room with no exit and a man shooting at them. Kevin collapsed to his knees, sobbing openly. Now, you and I tried to stop it. We were shouting at Martinez to cease fire. Chen physically grabbed his arm, tried to pull the gun away. But Jenkins shot Chen, just turned and shot him in the leg, dropped him, said anyone who interfered was an enemy combatant. I don't want to know the rest. Please don't make me remember the rest. But he'd asked me to tell him, had begged me to fill in the blanks. And now that I'd started, I couldn't stop. Martinez killed both children, shot them in the back as they tried to hide behind their mother's body. And then he turned to the 3 remaining men, you, me, and Rodriguez, and said we had 2 choices. We could help him stage this as a legitimate combat engagement, or we could join the dead on the floor. We should have killed him, should have shot him right there. Maybe. But we were 21 and 22 years old, in the middle of the most intense urban combat of the war, being threatened by our squad leader while our battle buddy bled on the floor from a gunshot wound. We were in shock, terrified, didn't know what to do. What did we do? Kevin asked, though I could see in his eyes that the memory was coming back now, breaking through whatever barrier his mind had erected. We helped him stage it. We fired our weapons into the walls and ceiling to make it look like there'd been a firefight. We planted an AK-47 from our evidence collection on one of the dead men. We positioned the bodies to suggest they'd been shooting at us. And then Martinez set fire to the house to destroy forensic evidence. And Chen died. Not from the leg wound, that wouldn't have killed him, but from blood loss while we staged the scene. We were so focused on staying alive, on following Martinez's orders so he wouldn't kill us too, that we didn't notice Chen bleeding out until it was too late. Kevin was rocking back and forth, making sounds I'd never heard from a human being before. We wrote it up as a combat engagement, said we'd taken fire from the house, returned fire, killed 6 enemy combatants, and lost 1 Marine. Chen was posthumously awarded a Purple Heart. The family was buried in a mass grave with other casualties, and we never spoke of it again. Until now, Kevin managed. Until now, because you called me at 3 in the morning begging me to tell you what really happened. We sat in silence for a long time. The sun was starting to rise outside, pale light filtering through the blinds. Somewhere in the building, someone's alarm clock went off. The normal world continuing on, oblivious to the horror we were confronting. Martinez, Kevin finally said. Where is he now? Dead. Killed in action 2 months after Fallujah. IED hit his Humvee. Died instantly, they said. Good. I hope he's burning in hell. Maybe. But that doesn't change what we did. We helped him cover up a massacre. We let our fear of him override our duty to those civilians. We're complicit in their deaths just as surely as if we'd pulled the trigger ourselves. Kevin looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. Is that why you haven't spoken to me in 15 years? Because looking at me reminds you of what we did. Partly, but also because I was afraid you'd start remembering. That one day you'd call me just like you did tonight, and I'd have to relive this all over again. Rodriguez and Jenkins? Rodriguez ate his gun 3 years after we got home. Jenkins is in prison for armed robbery. I think he was trying to get caught, trying to punish himself. And we're the only ones left who know the truth about what really happened in that house. Yes. Kevin stood up and walked to his investigation board. He stared at it for a moment, then started tearing it down. Photos, maps, reports, all of it ripped from the wall and thrown to the floor in a pile. I understand now why I blocked it out. My mind was protecting me from the knowledge that I'm a murderer, that I stood by while children were executed and then helped cover it up. We were following orders from a superior officer under threat of death. Any military court would. Don't. Kevin turned to me, his face twisted with anguish. Don't give me legal justifications. Don't tell me we were just following orders. That's what the Nazis said. That's what every person who commits atrocities while wearing a uniform says. We had a choice, Jake. We could have refused, could have shot Martinez ourselves, could have reported it afterwards. We had choices, and we made the wrong ones. He wasn't wrong. I'd spent 15 years telling myself the same lies he was rejecting now. So what do we do, I asked. Now that you remember, now that we're confronting this, what do we do with it? I don't know. Part of me wants to go to the authorities, confess everything, face whatever consequences come. But that won't bring those people back, won't undo what happened. It'll just destroy whatever lives we've managed to build in the aftermath. And the other part of you, the other part of me wants to get very drunk and forget this conversation ever happened. Push it back down, bury it again, go back to not remembering. Will that work, now that the memory is back? Kevin laughed bitterly. No, now that I remember, I'll always remember. That's the price of sobriety, I guess. You can't drink away memories that have fully surfaced. You can only dull them temporarily. I stood and walked to where he'd torn down his investigation board, picked up a photo of our unit from before Fallujah. Young faces, confident smiles, kids who thought they were heroes. There's a third option, I said quietly. What? We live with it, we carry it, we let it change us into better people who make sure nothing like that ever happens again. We don't run from it and we don't wallow in it, we just bear witness. Remember those people who died. Honor them by becoming the kind of men who would have saved them if we could go back. That's not redemption, that's just existing with guilt. Maybe redemption isn't possible for what we did. Maybe the best we can hope for is to not make it worse by destroying ourselves too. Kevin sank back onto his couch, exhausted. I don't know if I can live with this, Jake. Knowing what I know now, remembering what I remember. Every time I close my eyes, I'm going to see those children running, hear their screams, know that I stood there and did nothing while they were murdered. I know. I've lived with it for 15 years. It doesn't get easier, but it becomes part of who you are. The horror becomes integrated into your identity in a way that shapes how you see the world, how you treat people, how you understand justice and morality. Is that supposed to be comforting? No. It's just the truth. You asked me to tell you what really happened, and I did. You asked me to help you remember, and now you do. This is the price of knowing. This is what we carry for the rest of our lives. The sun was fully up now, morning light filling the apartment. Outside, I could hear traffic starting to build, people heading to work, beginning their normal days. The gap between their world and ours felt insurmountable. What do we do now? Kevin asked. Right now, today. What's the next step? You decide how you want to carry this. Whether you want to confess publicly, seek some kind of formal justice, or carry it privately. Whether you want to turn this guilt into action, advocacy, charity, something that helps people affected by war, or whether you just want to survive one day at a time, bearing witness to what happened. What do you do? How do you carry it? I work with refugee resettlement organizations, help families from Iraq and Afghanistan rebuild their lives here. I tell myself it's a small payment on an unpayable debt. It's not redemption, it's not enough, but it's something. Kevin nodded slowly. Maybe I could do that too. Maybe we could work together. At least then there'd be someone who understands. Who knows why it matters? Maybe, if you want that. But Kevin, you need to understand something. This knowledge, this memory you've recovered, it's going to be with you forever now. There's no putting it back in the box. You have to decide if you can live with it or if it's going to destroy you. I don't know yet. Ask me in a week, or a month, or a year. Fair enough. I stood to leave, exhausted from the emotional weight of the conversation. Kevin walked me to the door. Jake, thank you for coming, for telling me the truth, for not lying to protect me from the memory. I'm not sure I did you any favors. Your life was probably easier when you didn't remember. Maybe, but at least now I know why I've been having nightmares for 15 years. Why I drink, why I can't hold a relationship or a job. The symptoms make sense now that I know the disease. Will you be okay? Do I need to worry about you doing something stupid? Kevin thought about that for a moment. I don't think so. I'm not gonna lie and say I'm fine, but I don't think I'm in immediate danger of hurting myself. I just need time to process this, to figure out how to live with it. Call me if that changes. Anytime, day or night. We're the only ones who understand this. We have to look out for each other. You haven't looked out for me for 15 years. I know, and I'm sorry for that. I was protecting myself by avoiding you, but I'm here now, and I'll answer if you call. I drove home as the city woke up around me. My wife was awake, worried about where I'd been. I told her a friend had needed help, which was true. I didn't tell her what kind of help, what kind of memories we'd confronted, what kind of horror we'd relived. Some burdens can't be shared with people who weren't there. Some truths are too heavy for civilian life. I went to work, came home, had dinner with my family. Normal life, ordinary routine. But underneath it all, I carried the weight of that conversation with Kevin. The weight of memories I'd tried to bury now fully exposed. The house with the red door. November 19th, 2004. 7 dead civilians and 1 dead Marine. A massacre disguised as combat. A secret that had rotted inside us for 15 years. Kevin called me 3 days later. Said he'd decided to start volunteering with an organization that helped Iraqi refugees. Said he couldn't change the past, but he could try to make the present less terrible. Said he needed to do something, or he'd lose his mind. I told him I'd join him. That we'd do this work together. That maybe if we helped enough people, saved enough lives, the balance sheet would shift somehow. Not toward redemption. That was impossible. But toward something less overwhelmingly dark. We both knew it wouldn't be enough. Could never be enough. 7 dead civilians, including 2 children. The debt was unpayable. But we had to try. Because the alternative was drowning in the horror of what we'd done, what we'd allowed, what we'd covered up. The house with the red door still exists in Fallujah. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it was destroyed in subsequent fighting. I don't know. I've never gone back to check. But it exists in my mind, and now in Kevin's mind again. A permanent scar, a reminder of what happens when ordinary men make terrible choices in extraordinary circumstances. We were 21 and 22 years old. Kids, really. But that doesn't excuse it. Nothing excuses it. So we carry it. Kevin and me, the last survivors of Squad that went into that house. The only ones left who remember what really happened. And every November 19th, on the anniversary, we meet. Don't talk about it. Just sit together. Two men who share an unspeakable secret, bearing witness to the dead who can't speak for themselves. It's not redemption. It's not justice. It's not enough. But it's all we have.